To change your mind, then, is to make the brain work, and new sequences and new patterns and new combinations to begin to make the brain work differently. And the one ingredient that allows us to do that is knowledge or information, because every time you learn something new, you make a new connection in your brain. That's what's learning. Learning is forging new connections. Remembering is maintaining or sustaining those connections. So now every time you have a thought, you make a chemical, and if you have a great thought or an unlimited thought or a joyful thought, you turn on a set of circuits in your brain that fires in a very specific sequence, pattern, and combination that produces a level of mind that turns on another part of the brain that makes a chemical for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Great or unlimited or joyful. Now, if you have a negative thought or an unhappy thought or a self-depreciating thought, you turn on a different set of circuits in a different combination, a different sequence, in a different pattern that produces a different level of mind, and the brain then begins to make a different batch of chemicals that signals the body for you to begin to feel exactly the way you were just thinking. Negative or unhappy or unworthy. So the moment you begin to feel the way you think, because the brain is in a constant communication with your body, you begin to think the way you feel, which makes more chemicals for you to feel the way you think, and then you think the way you feel, and then you feel the way you think, and then you think the way you feel. And some people do this for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Now, the redundancy of that cycle over time creates what I call a state of being. In a state of being is when your mind and body are working together, or your thoughts and feelings are aligned to a concept. So thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. And as people get caught in this cycle of thinking and feeling and thinking, over time they condition their body to memorize that emotion as well as the conscious mind. And whenever the body knows as well as the mind, that's called a habit. A habit is when your body is the mind. Now 95% of who you are by the time you are 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors, set of emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, attitudes that run just like a computer program. So 5% of your conscious mind begins to work against 95% of what you've memorized. So the person wants to think positively, but they are feeling negatively. They want to create their dream board, and put up the future life, but they feel unworthy. That's mind and body in opposition. We have to recondition the body to a new mind. So how many people know someone who's memorized suffering? And you say to that person, hey, did you read the book I gave you? What did they say? No. Hey, listen, we are gonna go out to dinner. We are gonna go see some stand-up comedy and go for a walk along the water. You want to come? What do they say? I am insisting on this neurochemical order that no person, no thing, no experience can move us from it, and we have these three brains to allow us to move into a new state of being, and the quantum field, universal mind, whatever you want to call it, responds to who you are being, not what you are thinking, not what you are feeling, but a combination of how you are thinking and how you are feeling, called a state of being. And most people wait for crisis, or trauma, or disease, or loss, or diagnosis to really want to change. They wait to the point where the ego is brought to such a low level that they cannot go on business as usual any longer. That's when we begin to look at how we are thinking, or what we believe, or how we act, or attitude, or what emotions we are living by. And my message is, why wait? We can learn and change in a state of pain and suffering, which tends to be the human model, or we can learn and change in a state of joy and inspiration.